How we doing, gang? Kawaii50 back with another fake Grand Order video, here to talk with you about your best friend. And that is Mandricardo. And yes, he is your best friend. It is canon. I don't make the rules. This is just the way things are. And of course, you want to know how to effectively utilize your best friend on your team. So we're going to do that with allies, craft essences, and command codes to pull Mandricardo out of the 3-star and into the 5-star. We're going to make sure that he is able to shine, as he well should. If this video helps you out, be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe, because that honestly helps me out. Mandricardo has 2 quick, 2 arts, and 1 buster card with a single target arts noble Phantasm, so he does have the capability to arts Brave Chain. His stats are pretty much what you could expect from a 3-star servant, with a max HP of 9600 and a max attack of 6756. Of course, if you are one of those people that's going to grail Mandricardo, and a lot of people grailed Mandricardo, you can go ahead and end up getting that attack up there, though he will need foes, or if you don't want to spend foes for some reason, level 120 to break that 10k attack barrier. Not that he necessarily needs it, just something to keep in mind. His NP per hit is at a 0.86. He's only got 2 hits on his arts cards, but he is going to have potential to refund his noble Phantasm with the right support. And plus, as a rider, he has the expected star absorption. It's very, very heavy, so if he's on your team, expect your stars to immediately flow to him. Mandricardo's first skill is the Armor of the 9 Worthies, rank A. This gives him a 20 to 30% defense boost, and also, him and all of his allies a 10 to 20% attack boost for 3 turns. This is all in all a solid supportive skill. It keeps Mandricardo alive, and it gives his allies a little bit of extra oomph. You're going to want to go ahead and max this skill second, mainly so Mandricardo can take advantage of the attack boost. Mandricardo's second skill is Brink Shot rank C. This increases his attack once for 1 turn, and it's a 30 to 50% boost. It also boosts his critical strength for the same amount of time, and this is a 50 to 100% boost. It removes all defensive buffs from the target when Mandricardo attacks them, but after Mandricardo attacks them, he dies. And that really is difficult to avoid. Also, you can only use this skill when his HP is 50% or below, so this skill is fairly limited. Honestly, you can safely level this skill last if you even want to level it at all. It is not even necessary, and you will rarely end up using this skill. It can be a great supportive boon, pulling Mandricardo off the field so someone else in the back line can go up and finish whatever boss or enemy you're fighting, but more often than not, if you want Mandricardo to be your main damage dealer, you won't be using this. It can basically be considered a dead skill. And Mandricardo's final skill is his most important. Brigliadoro's Nay rank A gives him 3 turns of 10 to 20% quick and arts card effectiveness, at the cost of making the enemy focus on him for 1 turn. 3 turns is nice because it means Mandricardo will get a nice little bit of sustained damage, and the target focus can mostly be dealt with the fact that you're giving Mandricardo a defensive boost from his first skill as well. You're going to be stacking these both because you want Mandricardo to at least get 1 solid turn of really, really strong damage. Go ahead and definitely max this skill first because it will help with not only Mandricardo's damage, but also the stars you generate and the NP refund that you get. For Mandricardo's append skills, mana loading is really all that's needed. That starting NP boost is good on universally everyone, and Mandricardo is no exception. And Mandricardo's Noble Phantasm is the star portion of his kit. Serment de Durandal rank A deals a solid 900 to 1500% damage to a single enemy. It also increases his quick, arts, and buster card effectiveness by 1 turn by 20 to 40%. This is based on overcharge and activates before damage is dealt. This is all at the cost of decreasing Mandricardo's attack by 10% for 1 turn, which is going to be offset by his first skill anyway, so it's not really that much of a deal. This is the main thing you want to focus on when it comes to pretty much anything. Mandricardo's allies, Mandricardo's craft essences, everything we do in the following sections is going to be in service of making sure this Noble Phantasm hits as hard as it possibly can. So for Mandricardo's allies, who do we pick? Well, mainly arts supporters, because that is the main card type of his Noble Phantasm, and it can allow him to have an opportunity to loop and deal a lot of extra damage. Of course, Tamamo no Mai is going to be the premier option on NA right now. She is the main 5-star, and we kind of have to wait until a certain someone ends up coming out. But that's mainly going to wait for the allies section. Speaking of which, let's go there now and look at some budget-friendly options for Mandricardo. Those of you who really don't want to summon on the gacha at this time and just want to use your 3-stars, I'm looking at you, All Muscle. Or pretty much anyone who just really wants to use him but might not have the premium options. Our first option is, of course, Mozart. Mozart having the ability to increase Mandricardo's arts card effectiveness for likely the turn he uses his Noble Phantasm by a staggering 22 to 44%. His third skill, Eine kleine Nachtmusik, rank EX, will grant Mandricardo a bevy of stars, allowing him to deal some reasonable crit damage, though it probably won't reach the heights of his Noble Phantasm. Something we also have to look out for here on NA, which we won't see until likely month 8 of 2023, a fair ways off, you are going to be getting Angel's Melody rank A, an upgrade to his second skill, which will allow you to decrease an enemy's arts resistance, further increasing the damage Mandricardo does. You might also want to consider Hassan of the 100 Personas, mainly because of the extra effect on her Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm post-interlude decreases the enemy's arts resist by 20% for 3 turns. This can be a big boon for Mandricardo, especially if you're going to go ahead and try to loop his Noble Phantasm. Also, since it's not tied to overcharge, you can safely use this before Mandricardo's Noble Phantasm, allowing the overcharge effect on his arts card to deal more damage. Of course, let's not forget Hohenheim, a servant everybody should have put at least some resources into, one of our best options until a certain someone arrives next year. Hohenheim's Philosopher's Stone skill, of course, increases an ally's NP gain by a staggering amount, and he can also increase Mandricardo's damage through his Elemental skill, a nice little boost to his arts card effectiveness that also will increase his Noble Phantasm gain on top of that. Prince of Lan Ling, as always, deserves mention because of his myriad of arts helping skills. His third skill, Demonic Visage, being the main focus, increasing Mandricardo's arts card effectiveness, critical star drop rate, and, of course, critical strength. Something that's very, very helpful considering he's a rider, so he's going to be eating all of those stars. Let's also not forget his Noble Phantasm, which will give Mandricardo a 30 to 50% attack boost. Again, drastically offsetting the detriment from his Noble Phantasm. And of course, we've also got to consider that servant everyone's waiting for, Castoria. Castoria, of course, can provide a ton of boons to Mandricardo, and a double Castoria setup is going to be absolutely incredible when you're fighting against bosses. Not only is she going to be able to give Mandricardo survivability, but she's also going to be able to give him damage and NP steroid as well as general NP damage. That NP damage, of course, being through massive arts card effectiveness boosts. That, combined with the fact that arts gives you NP gain, means that Mandricardo will likely loop his Noble Phantasm and be able to make the most of those 3 turns of increased damage. Now, what craft essences does our friend deserve? Of course, the greatest option is going to be the Black Grail. That 80% NP strength you can get from a max limit broken one, or 60% if you just got a regular one, is going to go a long way towards making Durandal really hit its maximum potential. This damage is what you're going to want to see. If you don't have the Black Grail, of course, Heaven's Feel is also an acceptable substitute. If you happen to have Painting Summer on the docket, you can go ahead and slot that in for Mandricardo as well. This grants arts card effectiveness, NP gain, and a starting NP gauge. And finally, let me give special mention of Mark on a Smiling Face. This grants arts card effectiveness, NP gain, as well as that coveted NP strength. And we will of course need to consider Mandricardo's command codes. For his arts cards, I would definitely recommend chucking something on there to draw stars towards them. Drawing those stars towards those arts cards will mean that Mandricardo will have a higher chance to crit, and a higher chance to get some NP refund off of that, so he can use Durandal yet again. Immature Illusionary Command Seal is of course the most potent option when it comes to this, but any sort of Star Gather command code on your arts cards will help. When it comes to his singular Buster card, we can focus on increasing that damage since, well, we want that card to deal damage. That's really the only thing it's going to do. So something like Red Jewel's Command Seal is going to be very, very helpful, especially considering Mandricardo's drawing all of those stars to himself. For quick cards, we can definitely consider letting them do what works for them best, which is Star Gen. Something like Code Glitter is an excellent budget option for that. Or you can go ahead and let those focus more on utility, with something like White Vessel's Command Seal in order to make it so Mandricardo can cleanse any debuffs. And for a servant so focused on Noble Phantasm damage, I definitely need to recommend Da Vinci Chan. Of course, this grants a solid boost to Noble Phantasm damage when it is used before the Noble Phantasm goes off. This ends up sacrificing potentially a bit of damage and a bit of NP gain, but the payoff always seems to be worth it for that sweet, sweet Noble Phantasm damage. Overall, gang, Mandricardo is a very solid addition to basically everybody's roster. He is reliable, as you would want your best friend to be. You know he is going to be able to deal that single target Noble Phantasm damage, and he's going to be able to deal it well. He has, unfortunately, some flaws that are a direct result of his rarity. That second skill is basically dead in the water, and you likely will never be using that. Would, if it could be substituted for something else. But considering how readily available he is being added to the general pool, he is a servant you will eventually NP5, and you will see the true power behind the true wielder of Durandal. Don't count Mandricardo out, and be happy if you summon this man, be it in the Friend Point Gacha, or in any sort of story summons you get going forward. But of course, I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts on Mandricardo down in the comments section below. Let me know how you felt about him in the Atlantis Lost Belt story, if you really want to talk about that. Or, if you really like him as a member of your team and have some other comps you like using him in, go ahead and mention those down below as well. If you want to talk about Mandricardo, or, well, any fake Grand Order servant, my Discord server is of course always open. I want to give a big thanks to the patrons on Patreon, the subscribers and followers over on Twitch, and of course you subscribers on YouTube for giving me the drive to come out here and do these videos every opportunity I get. I really appreciate all of your support, no matter what form it comes in. Anyways gang, this is Kawaii50, I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next video.